Well, good day everyone, welcome back to another one. This one will be all about the NRL Round 21. A bit of a review, recap of the round we've just had, and a little bit of a look at where we are currently with the NRL competition. I haven't made a video for just over a week now, I haven't been feeling very well, so I'm glad to be making another one. The NRL competition has certainly stepped up a bit since the State of Origin finished. State of Origin was great this year, don't get me wrong, but certainly it was the NRL sort of slowed down a bit. The best players weren't available, but certainly it stepped up a bit as we look towards finals. There's a lot more on the line. Some teams are already out of the competition now, basically, but we'll have a look at that later. But certainly the matchups are getting better and better every week at the moment. So let's start. We're going to look at each game and I'll give you a few thoughts. So the Warriors versus Tigers, Warriors winning 28-16. Warriors finally getting another win here, but yeah, wasn't really a surprise, was it? Chanel Harris-Tavita finally kicking a goal. He didn't do too well against the Raiders. I really felt for the guy, but I'm glad that in combination he's put his hand up to kick again and the Warriors have backed him to do that. But anyway, certainly it wasn't made easy for him with the first two tries right on the sideline and probably the more difficult side of the field for him to kick on being a left footer. But anyway, he still managed 4 successful kicks from 6 attempts, so missing his first 2. The Warriors scored first. They dominated possession for the first 20 minutes. But yeah, look, in the first half, they did cough up a few opportunities there. And the Tigers, they were really hanging on, defending reasonably well. But yeah, Warriors not able to capitalise. But the Warriors did manage to score 2 tries in the last 10 minutes of that first half to sort of, I guess, settle the nerves a little bit. The Tigers scored the first 2 tries in the second half to sort of try and, get themselves back in the game. And I think the score was 14-10 before the Wars scored a penalty to make it 6 points. And then the Warriors scored 2 tries in the last 10 minutes of the game, mirroring what they did in the first half. But yeah, look, it's a young Tigers team. They're bloody new players for the future. They're basically, resigned to the fact that they're out of the competition. So now I guess they just need to look forward, don't they? Well, beyond this year, let's put it that way. The Warriors, basically, they need to win every game from here. It wasn't a convincing win from the Warriors, but they did what they needed to and improved on a few areas in particular from last week. It was that start of the game they didn't do that well against the Raiders, and they have done that a few times this year. But Adam Fanua-Blake and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, they had big games, and I'd like to see Roger Tuivasa-Sheck stay at fullback. I know I've said that a few times this year, and mainly for me, from my point of view, I feel like it's a confidence thing. Tuivasa-Sheck is so much more confident at fullback, and once he gets that confidence, you could probably move him, but at the moment, I'd like to see him stay there for a little while, if not for the rest of the season. And I mean, he saved at least 2 tries. His commitment to, saving tries, or commitment to the team, he puts his body on the line, and there was a couple of tries he saved that not many players would have sort of made those commitments. But yeah, look, the goal kicking obviously was a step up. They've got some rookie centres, and Kossi was on the wing. They all sort of played well enough and will be better for that experience, but I think that the Warriors need some of their players to come back to really threaten top 8 sides, or a play for the top 8. Sean Johnson is back next week, I believe, and I'm personally looking forward to Marcelo Montoya coming back. I feel like he offers a lot on defence and leadership as well, but yeah, so look, we'll have to wait and see what the teams are tomorrow. The next game was the Eels versus Storm. Eels losing 14-32. Eels had a great start really, and they dominated most of that half. They obviously, or the first half, they didn't have anything to lose now. They're basically out, but they couldn't capitalise more on that advantage that they did have, and then right at the end of the first half, Jake Tango completely mucked up, and then he got sent to the sin bin right on half time. But yeah, the Storm, halftime score was 8-14, and the Eels would have been pretty gutted with that, I'd say. A couple of the Storm tries were against the run of play, and I could understand the Eels feeling a little bit gutted about that. But the Storm kicked into gear in the second half, and they sort of ran away with it in the end. The Storm won't be too happy with their performance, certainly in that first half, but they put the struggling Eels away. And Cameron Munster was back. He actually played 50-odd minutes in the middle. Tyrone Wishart played a full game at 5/8. Pappenhausen didn't look like he was battling that sort of injury he looked like he had last week, and played really well on the most part. But look, the Eels, they put a good effort, but not many teams can match it with the Storm at the moment. That goes without saying, of course, as the Storm dealing with the Roosters quite comfortably last week. Storm are comfortably at the top at the moment of the ladder, and they are 2 wins ahead. Then we had the Broncos versus Bulldogs, 16-41. Unbelievable result, this one. Did anyone see this coming? I know there would have been a few diehard Bulldogs fans. I just could, in every which way I looked at it, I could not see the Bulldogs getting up for this one. Yeah, I did think the whole round was relatively predictable, but this game certainly turned things on its head. The Broncos beating the Knights comfortably last week with Adam Reynolds back, and so I thought, look, here's where the Broncos, they were grand finalists last year. Here's where they make their play back towards the top 8. But the Bulldogs had other ideas, and of course they had Stephen Crichton out, their captain, who has been one of their best players this year, and I just tipped the Broncos all day. But the Bulldogs are the biggest improvers this year from last season. It was a very impressive performance. They dominated basically every aspect. Of course, it was a surprise, but this was a surprise for the Bulldogs to win. But this was a demolition. It was 10-16 at halftime, and then the Bulldogs obviously ran away with it from there. Connor Tracy had an amazing game. He scored 3 tries and had 3 try assists, so he certainly found a spot at the back there for the Bulldogs, who have tried a couple of options there. But he looks pretty solid there. I don't think they're going to change that. Bulldogs now going for a top 4 spot. Can you believe that? And that might be at the expense of the Sharks, who are a bit of a slide down at the moment. And the Broncos season hanging by a thread. They've had 1 win, I think, in the last 8 games. I mean, I just sat there just shaking my head with this result. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, certainly in that second half. And then the Cowboys versus Sharks, 30-22, Cowboys winning this one. Cowboys had to work hard for it. They did well after losing both Jason Taumalolo and Ruben Cotter to head knocks in the first half. The Sharks put up a good challenge. Of course, they've got, without Nico Hines, but they were without Will Kennedy in this one. They were away from home, and then Blake Brayley got sin bin, but that didn't hurt them too much. I think both teams scored while he was in the bin, but Kyle Fouts' hat-trick and 2 tries in the second half sealed it, really. That was quite a performance for him. He hasn't necessarily been a first in the team every week, but he had an opportunity this week and made the most of it. Most of his opportunity. The Sharks, they stay in the top 4, but I think they are on a bit of a slide down. Cowboys move above the Seagulls into 6th now, and will be looking to move on after Origin. It's worth pointing out that the Cowboys they were most affected by the state of Origin this year, having quite a number of players involved. So they're definitely wanting to move on and look like a team that should stay in the top 8. Then we had the Roosters versus Seagulls. Roosters winning 34-30. Hell of a game, this one. I'd say I personally think it was the game of the round. I mean, after the first 20 minutes, which probably was the difference in the end, it looked like the Roosters would win comfortably. They were keen to bounce back after their loss to the Storm, and you could see that in the way they started. They raced out to 22-0. The score was 28-12 at halftime. And the start that the Roosters had reminded me of the start they had against the Warriors earlier in the season. Just unbelievable attack that no team could sort of slow them or stop them when they're in that sort of move. But anyway, the Seagulls won the second half, but it's worth noting that all 3 of their tries, the Seagulls tries, were runaway intercepts But look, it put them within 4 points with 4 minutes remaining after that. It just didn't look like there would be a chance. I mean, it was an impressive comeback considering that first 20 minutes. Don't forget that you might not have been aware, but the Seagulls lost both Ruben Garrick and Jason Saab to head knocks. They had to activate their 18th man, who played pretty well. He scored a try, an intercept try. He was good under the high ball. He copped a few shots, that's fair to say. Certainly one was by Lindsay Collins. But he played really well. But yeah, the Roosters defended well for large periods in that second half, and I felt like the scoreline probably didn't reflect their dominance, to be fair. That's just my opinion. Certainly the intercepts, it wasn't a sign of the Roosters not necessarily dominating. They all but sort of let the Seagulls back in the game. But yeah, James Tedesco is in absolutely great form. I think he's probably enjoying the fact that he didn't have to make the full commitment to State of Origin this year, as I've said a few times this year already. And the Roosters are a top 4 side, still wanting to be able to win against the top 4 team and really sort of, solidify their credentials, but tracking very well at the moment, and it would be hard to tip against them. Dragons versus Panthers. Dragons losing 10-46, Panthers winning pretty comfortably, really. It was quite a one-sided contest in Wollongong, and another hat-trick in this game. I don't know how there would have been 3 at least, or 4 maybe hat-tricks this weekend, but this one went to Nathan Cleary. And he's certainly making up for his lost time, being out injured for most of the season. It was great to see day footy, I must admit. You could tell that the Panthers were certainly letting the ball fly a little bit, keeping the ball in play, offloads. The attack wasn't as structured as we normally would see. But yeah, look, Panthers look scary, eh? Like, they can only get better too, to be fair. But Dylan Edwards will be back in a few weeks from an injury. Although Dane Laurie, he went off after injured with a head knock, so we'll have to see if he's available next week. They're getting light on fullbacks at the Panthers. And James Fisher-Harris also got injured, a groin injury. We don't know how long that'll be at the moment. I checked the casualty ward before making this video, and there's no news there at the moment. The Dragons are right in the logjam for the top 8 spot now, and I'm sure they would have liked to have, their effort to have been more competitive, let's put it that way, but certainly it's hard to beat the Panthers, but they would have wanted to be a bit closer. Sloan was dropped for the Dragons, was dropped to reserve grade, so they've got a few things happening in terms of personnel and positional changes, but yeah, like that was just what else do you say? What else do you say about that? The Panthers were just way too good. Then we had Dolphins versus Titans, the other upset of the round. And I honestly thought this round, like I said, was going to be relatively predictable. But anyway, unreal game, this one. The Dolphins raced to a 14-0 lead after 22 minutes and couldn't score again. The Titans started slow, but they built themselves back into the game, scoring 21 unanswered points in the end to win away from home against the Dolphins, who have actually spent most of their time in the top 4 this year. This, for me, was one of the top 3 or 4 performances for the Titans this season, and it should go unnoticed. No one should take the Titans lightly. I think, Des Hasler and Kieran Foran are enjoying working together again, and the Titans, they've really turned the season around, had some pretty incredible wins, least not the 66-6 win against the Warriors. Jack Bostock had 2 tries disallowed for the Dolphins, so that didn't help their cause. In other words, they were very close to scoring a couple of tries there. But yeah, look, the Titans did enough. Khan Pereira, he scored twice off bounce passes, which you don't see every week. But yeah, very impressive for the Titans, and unbelievably, they are now 4 points out of the top 8. So the Dolphins have to look at themselves after that one. And then the final game of the round, Raiders versus Rabbitohs. Raiders winning comfortably 32-12. After the Raiders' close win last week against the Warriors, this was a little bit more comfortable, but certainly an improvement on their performance. The Rabbitohs certainly missing Latrell Mitchell, that is for sure, and the injury list was added to further again with both Alex Johnston and Cody Walker going off injured. Damien Cook again had to play centre for the second week running, or move out to centre, and he didn't have a great night off the tee. Jack Whiten up against his old club as well. Elliot Whitehead, 200 games for the Raiders. His team certainly stepped up for him. Jamal Fogarty has been great since coming back from injury, I must admit that, and this was another example of that. But he's certainly made a difference to the Raiders' attack. That's been their biggest issue while he's been off the field. But his high kicking, he kicks it so well. Certainly very difficult for the outside backs to catch, and the Raiders led 24-8 at halftime, and they scored in the first 5 minutes in the second half. So yeah, look, I didn't feel like the Rabbitohs were much of a chance. They just didn't look like they were going to challenge to win this game. Hudson Young, he's had a great couple of games back for the Raiders, and the Raiders forward pack has lifted a gear, I think, in the last couple of weeks. The back line looks solid now that K.O. Weeks has found a spot at fullback. I still think that the Raiders can get better as well from here. They'll need to. They come up against the Bulldogs this week, and the Bulldogs are going to be a really tough team to beat. And but I can't see the Rabbitohs making the top 8 here. I will make a video on what the top 8 I think we're going to see. Let's have a go at that and see how wrong I am. My tipping's been a bit mixed this year, but we will give it a go. So please look out for that video. And let's have a quick look at the ladder. At the moment, the Storm are comfortably 2 wins ahead in first spot. You've got the Panthers, the Roosters, and the Sharks rounding out the top 4. The Sharks are the only team that may struggle to keep that spot. I feel like the Roosters will kick on and hold that spot. The Panthers, I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, they're 2 wins in front of the Roosters. The Bulldogs 5th, Cowboys 6th, Seagulls 7th, Dolphins 8th. That is a pretty decent top 8, although, when you've got the Raiders, you've got maybe the Warriors. I don't know about the Dragons and the Knights. I think they'll struggle to get to the top 8. I think the Warriors will as well. But the Broncos down in 13th spot are currently 2 wins out of the top 8, and don't forget I just said before about the Titans, they are as well. So are the Rabbitohs, because what you do have there is you've got 8 points from third position right down through to the Rabbitohs, but that's 8 points is 4 wins. So if we were to look at the top 8, you've the Broncos, Titans, and Rabbitohs all on 20, are 2 wins from the top 8 at the moment, with the Dolphins on 24. So really tight top 8 this year, very competitive. So anyway, I'll make a prediction video, as I said. Please look out for that, and I'll see you there. Cheers.